Okay, good morning and welcome to the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, June 18th. With me is Vice Chair Rick Vest. I am the Chair of the County Board, Sean Flowerday. Alongside me is Commissioners Krista Yoakum and Roma Amundsen. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please begin.
Location announcement of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located at the wall of the rear of the hearing room. All written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk's staff. Printing options are available upon request. These materials can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Brings us to item 1 minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on June 11th, 2024.
Move approval?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. Brings us to item 2, claims. 2A is approval of the claims processed through June 18th, 2024. And I'll note there is an amendment for payroll.
I would move approval of the claims process through June 18th, 2024, and amend to include the payroll process through June 12th, 2024.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. 2B is approval of a claim to the Mediation Center in the amount of $10,700.
I move approval of the claim to the Mediation Center.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Vest,
Abstain.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. 2C, approval of a claim to Cedars Youth Services in the amount of $200.
I move approval of this claim.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Item 2D, approval of the claims including billing for goods and services beyond the 90-day time period provided in Nebraska Revised Statute 23-135 for Column Software PBC dated June 17th, 2024 in the total amount of $1,119.26, and the University of Nebraska dated June 17th, 2024 for a total of $1,701.03.
Move approval?
Yes. Second.
My understanding is that someone from the University of Nebraska was going to be here for the second item. Should we hold it?
Yeah. Good morning, Director of Human Services, Sarah Hoyle. They were asked to be here. I was told that they would be here. I don't know if they're running late or. I would hold it.
You would hold it?
Yeah, I would hold it. They were going to come and discuss why they had billing issues. And,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Then I will amend my motion.
Is this just item 2 then?
Yeah,
that
it's
we're talking
D2. We're
about?
just talking D2.
That's B1, yeah.
So I will second that.
Okay, so we are approving only D1 and we are going to hold item D2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And do we need to table D2 for a week or? Okay, I would entertain a motion to table item D2 for 1 week.
Yeah, I so move.
Second?
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. Brings us to item 3, our special presentation, the Commissioner's Award of Excellence for May 2024 to Chris Podney, County Engineering, in the category of Productivity. I do have
Have
his...
to come forward, unfortunately.
This is where we get to embarrass you.
Excuse me. All right, Commissioners, I'll go ahead and read Chris's letter into the record.
Please do.
Chris Podney, Bridge Inspector with the Lancaster County Engineers Office, has been selected as the Commissioner's Award of Excellence winner for May 2024. Podney has worked for the Engineers Office for 37 years. He was nominated by Doug Sinlair in the category of Productivity. In his nomination, Sinlair states, Chris has been employed by Lancaster County for 37 years and has been the lead bridge inspector for 29 years. Some of Chris's job duties include ensuring the proper traffic controls in place, surveying with different types of equipment throughout the project to check alignment and elevations, and being certified for testing various project materials, reading and correctly interpreting project plans and specifications, and maintaining good working relationships with the contractors to get projects built per the project plans. Other duties include performing annual inspections of existing bridges and culverts, and then documenting the findings with state and federal agencies. He also coordinates and communicates with the fellow Lancaster County bridge inspectors to get his existing bridges inspected within the allotting time for each structure. Chris also generates the maintenance solutions from bridge inspections and sends along to Lancaster County operations personnel for repairs. Chris does a good job of looking ahead and planning during the construction of bridges and box culverts. This has helped contractors in scheduling, which in turn has saved Lancaster County money because the contractors could plan more efficiently and complete projects ahead of schedule. This reduces the impact of the traveling public. For these reasons, we are pleased to award Chris Podney with the Commissioner's Award of Excellence for the month of May 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your work for Lancaster County. So, would you like to say a few words or anything?
Usually the supervisor or.
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank my supervisor and make sure I thank my wife, 'cause she told me to, so.
You're a wise man.
No, that's right. That's right.
Wife Sandra. I guess I would just like to say thank you to Chris for all those years of service. I think Lancaster County is very lucky to have him for all he's done for us. I think he does a really good job of kind of being the go-to guy for anything as far as questions, as far as bridges, box culverts, and then dealing with contractors, which isn't always a fun job, but he handles it very well. So thanks, Chris, and he's done a great job for Lancaster County.
Well, Chris, my goodness, 37 years.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
Thank you.
Yes, and you still love your job and everything like that. That's great. And you know what, just really, on behalf of the board and everything, we just really want to thank you for the diligence that you have done in examining our bridges and making sure that in culverts, and making sure that everything is safe for the public. And that is a very important job.
Thank you.
And I have a particular reason to thank you. Q110, the bridge that's really close to my place.
Okay.
Yes, I think that you had a hand in closing it because it was dangerous, and it was. But I understand now too that we're beginning to do some work on it.
Yeah, we're going to replace it here this fall, so.
See, thank you. And so on behalf of the county board, we would like to present you with this award.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you.
And I would just like to add that Chris and his team do an excellent job on inspecting our bridges and recommending them for repair, as well as just continuously monitoring them when they get to that questionable towards the end of life time, which is not awesome, by the way. 37 years of continuous dedication to Lancaster County Engineering Department and the bridges in Lancaster County. Roughly 300 bridges or bridge length culverts. That's, you know, if you're inspecting those every other year in any significant rainstorm, that's literally thousands of bridge inspections. And
Yeah.
we're really thankful for that and the organization and the professionalism that he has brought to that.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you again.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 4, the consent items. These are routine business items that are expected to be adopted without dissent. Any individual item may be removed for special discussion and consideration by a commissioner or by any member of the public without prior notice. Unless there is an exception, these items will be approved with one single vote of the Board of Commissioners. These items are the approval of A, amendments to the following county contracts. C-20-0470 with National Everything Wholesale, a network distributor to Capsan Sanitary Supply for janitorial and sanitation supplies, equipment, and related services. C-21-0344 with NMC Incorporated to provide electrical generator maintenance repairs. C-23-0506 with Safety Clean Systems for the annual service of parts washer services recycling solvent. C-23-0948 with IntiConnect Incorporated, doing business as IntiConnects for physical access control, system equipment, and services. B, amendments to the following county contracts to provide for the annual service of noxious weed spraying and mowing. C-23-0501 with Beatrice Lawn Care Incorporated. C-23-0502 with Gary's Lawn and Landscape. C-23-0503 with Hauser Incorporated, doing business as Lee's Lawn Maintenance. And C-23-0504 with Mr. Yards and More LLC. C, amendments to the following county contracts for the unit price of tree pruning and removal services. They are C-23-0878 with CTC Disaster Response Incorporated. C-23-0877 with Capital Arborist Tree. And C-23-0879 with Clugs LLC, doing business as Clugs Tree Service. And finally, D, setting a public hearing for Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building to amend the appropriations for the County City Property Management Fund.
I move approval of the consent items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. Brings us to item 5, new business. 5A, proclaiming June 2024 as Noxious Weed Awareness Month. I have a proclamation to be happy to read into the record.
Please do.
Before the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lancaster, Nebraska, in the matter of proclaiming June 2024 as the Noxious Weed Awareness Month in the County of Lancaster, Nebraska. Whereas 12 weeds are currently designated as noxious in the state of Nebraska, including musk thistle, Canada thistle, plumeless thistle, spotted knapweed, diffuse knapweed, leafy sprague, purple loosestrife, salt cedar, phragmates, Japanese knotweed, giant knotweed, and Circia lespedea. Whereas noxious weed control is the responsibility of each person who owns or controls land in Nebraska. And whereas the Weed Control Authority of the County of Lancaster, Nebraska is responsible for the administration of noxious weed control laws at the county level. And now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lancaster, Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Noxious Weed Awareness Month in the County of Lancaster, Nebraska. And we do hereby urge all residents to report any noxious weed infestations in the County Weed Control Authority, which is available to help identifying noxious weeds and assist residents with proper control recommendations. In witness thereof, we have hereunto signed on June 18th, 2024, by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lancaster, Nebraska.
Well, thank you, and you did pretty darn good on most of those names. So, we hear all different pronunciations of Phragmites, I can tell you that, but it is a challenge. Thank you to the County Board for recognizing June as Noxious Weed Awareness Month in Lancaster County. This is also a statewide thing that the governor did yesterday. So noxious weeds are important. A lot of times I think it gets overlooked by people, but it is detrimental to livestock and the welfare of the residents of Nebraska, water issues across the state, and the thing that we're concerned about is that it may devalue our land values in the state. So, and that can happen. It has happened in adjoining states. So we're here to protect that interest for you guys and for the county. That's where we get our tax revenues from. And so I think the citizens of Lancaster County do a really good job. There's a lot of education out there with some of the new invasive species on Circia lespedea, Phragmites, and some of those that it certain times in history, we thought certain plants were good, and now we found out they're invasive once they get out into the environment. So again, thank you for that. We'll continue to plug away and do our best, so.
I just thank you for being here this morning and for keeping this in front of us and drawing our attention to it. It's one of those issues that it doesn't seem like a big deal, but if we ignored it, it would just grow and become really a big problem to deal with.
Yeah.
Thanks to you and your employees, we do our best to keep it under control, and I deeply appreciate it.
Yep. And that's an important point, because all of these noxious weeds are the worst of the worst. And if they would stay home,
Yeah.
so be it. But they don't, because if you have them, you get them. And, that's what we're here to protect the neighbors from neighbors that don't control their noxious weeds. So we always say, be a good neighbor, control your invasive species. So,
One of the weeds that has really gone to town is poison hemlock. That just seems everywhere. Is that a noxious weed? Is it invasive?
We've taken more phone calls on poison hemlock this year than any other weed. It is not a noxious weed.
Okay.
It typically grows in wasteland areas, so it doesn't really compete in livestock situations. The Director of Agriculture is aware of the growing issue with that, and that's the person that actually designates what weeds become noxious statewide. It is non-native, so that's one of the criteria, so that it could happen. If it does, I'll be coming back to you for a lot more staff.
Absolutely.
Because
it's everywhere.
And certain years, you see certain species that do really well, and I think that's what happened this year with the moisture last fall. It's a biennial plant, so it started last fall, and now it's continued, and of course, it's 10 feet tall and everywhere.
Mhm.
So
Okay, oh,
it's on our radar.
okay,
So
good.
move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. 5B is an interlocal agreement between Lancaster County and the City of Lincoln for the establishment and support of the Department of Aging.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Jones, Director of Aging Partners, Department of Aging. This is a renewal of our interlocal agreement between Lancaster County and the City of Lincoln. We initially had this relationship start in 1973. This particular agreement has not been updated since 2001, so this is an updating of that. It's been reviewed by the city and county attorneys as well, that I present to you today. 5 changes have been made to the interlocal agreement. Department name change to match the city's naming of Aging Partners to Department of Aging. County added language that states the agreement does not create an employer-employee relationship. County commissioners have asked that we document the financial support for Victory Park. Thank you. The city added a clarification that any disposition of assets would follow federal regulation as it's defined for any funds that were given to us federally connected. And the legal department changed the reference to the federal act that established the area agencies on aging. That was inaccurate. So present that to you today for approval.
Okay.
I move approval.
Yeah.
Second.
I would say I deeply appreciate this relationship and the services that it provides, Randy. It's really a benefit to those folks who've been around and been a big part of our community for
Thank
a
you.
long time.
And you certainly have made some good updates. Yeah.
Good.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. Brings us to 5C, an agreement with DLR Group Incorporated to develop an energy management plan to improve energy efficiency in buildings owned by the City of Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the Public Building Commission. The county will pay up to $76,020 from a grant received from the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant Program.
Good morning, Commissioners. Karen Peterson, Director of Facility and Property. This is just kind of the long-awaited consultant agreement. We've been going back and forth, decided that the county really needed it. Although we're combining grant money and looking at a holistic approach at all the city and county-owned property, but that we needed our own consultant agreement. So that's what this essentially does. Mayor Gaylor Baird's Chief Sustainability Officer is the overall recipient principal investigator. Any notices, pay applications, and things that pertain to the county's portion of this larger grant will be administered through me, and then I'll turn them over to Budget and Fiscal for payment. And there's some provisions for 60-day notice before any remaining work and for any changes to scope or anything along those lines. But we're getting to the point where we're actually doing some work now, not so much looking as we're actually investigating. And just for your information, the county building that we've first done a walkthrough on and take a look at actually is the Hall of Justice. That's jointly owned by the city and the county, but Public Building Commission is spending a fair amount. We put some capital dollars into some improvements last year for building controls. With this year's budget cycle, I'm going to be requesting additional improvements to that. So it's really kind of nice to have another set of consultants looking at the same building. We are certainly open to ideas and suggestions and feel like we're moving in the right directions. But this is actually very helpful for that as well. But we are going to be looking at all the properties, but low-hanging fruit first. So, and if there's any questions, I'd be glad to provide additional information or updates.
I move approval.
Second.
All right.
And I'm certain that you're going to administer this grant will be administered appropriately.
All right, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. 5D is an agreement with Bermuda Group LLC to provide federal advocacy services. The cost of the county is $72,096 for the first year, with 3% increases in each of the subsequent 2 years.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. 5E, acceptance of a grant award and special conditions from the Nebraska Crime Commission's Juvenile Services Commission grant program in the amount of $99,940.
Good morning, Sarah Hoyle, Director of Human Services for the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County. This is a competitive grant that we received. We're sub-awarding it out to the Asian Center. It's to provide services to immigrant and refugee youth, predominantly those that enter the juvenile justice system or are at risk of entering the juvenile justice system.
So important to kind of get in front of these issues, Sarah. We've all seen what happens if some things continue down the path they're on. It's way better if we can help folks get a handle on issues before they get to that justice system. So thank you for this. I move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Okay,
Please call the roll.
thank you.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
5F is a mini grant contract application with the Nebraska Department of Transportation in the amount of $19,430 for the Sheriff's Office to participate in nationwide speeding prevention mobilization.
I will move approval and just remind everyone that speeding doesn't usually help you get where you want to go any faster. I can speak from experience. That's
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll.
Vest,
yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. 5G is a recommendation from the purchasing agent on behalf of the county engineer to award a contract to Ayers and Ayers for Incorporated for tin and C-channel replacement at 2 county engineering buildings in the amount of $129,890.
I'm a Lancaster County engineer. These are modifications to stabilize the entrances on our door jambs and our garages, as well as we have a fiberglass panel system on the on the top of the shop, and it's become extremely brittle and fragile over its years in the sun, and we've had to go up and kind of screw it back down after some of these storms, and so we just need to get that replaced to try to stabilize this building.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. 5H, a recommendation from the purchasing agent on behalf of Youth Services Center Director to award a sole source contract to Securitas Technology for Cat 6 replacement services in the amount of $40,628.46.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brad Alexander, Director of the Lancaster County Youth Services Center. This was discussed at the mid-year review, and then again we discussed it at the budget presentation. And so this will be money that will encumber out of this year, and it will be a really nice upgrade to our security system. The wiring is, well, it's 22 years old. It's a similar project to what you are familiar with at the Lancaster County Jail.
I was just going to say, we have talked about this a couple times, so it's good to see it moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you moved approval, Roma, I will second that.
Yes.
Good. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Commissioners, I have a note that we are skipping over item 5I for this week. So that'll bring us to item 6, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Any members of the public wishing to speak?
Robert Bohr, Cast Vote Record Part 2. The cast vote record issue was recently revived when Lancaster County Election Commissioner Todd Wiltgen decided to propagate the lie that paper ballots constitute the cast vote record. I traced that lie back to the Secretary's office. I then filed a public records request with both offices for any authoritative source in their possession that backed up the claim that paper ballots constitute the cast vote record. Neither office could provide any authoritative source. The big question then becomes, why did these two change their definition of a cast vote record? From what they said last July when they conspired with members of this board to lie to Lancaster County voters about the integrity of our elections. Back then, Deputy Benna and Commissioner Wiltgen said the cast vote record wasn't something they utilized. And now they are saying the cast vote record is our paper ballots. Such lies are clues to bigger lies. Leaving that subject and moving on, I filed another public records request with Commissioner Wiltgen recently for any record containing his administrative procedure for, number one, canvassing the vote, and number two, certifying the election results. Incredibly, he responded that he had no such record containing administrative procedure for either one. Obviously, Commissioner Wiltgen is in way over his head. The situation begs an all-important question. Who exactly is running our elections? It certainly isn't Deputy Secretary Wayne Benna or Election Commissioner Todd Wiltgen. They have outsourced their jobs to a private, left-wing corporation that has every opportunity to cheat because they have sole control over the tabulation of our votes and the certification of our results. No one outside of ES&S, with the exception of black hat hackers, knows what is in the software and hardware of ES&S tabulators. No one. ES&S literally controls our elections. ES&S staff are on location on election day to fix things when the tabulators go down or to help staff members when they have issues operating them. ES&S has taken the place of citizen watchfulness in our elections and control of local election offices. Election office employees and volunteers are nothing more than stooges who do menial tasks. Add to this the fact that our ballots have no security features, that our mail-in ballots have no chain of custody, that there is no reconciliation between the number of ballots voted and the list of people who voted them, which is a violation of federal law, and our elections must be regarded as nothing more than a charade, designed to select mostly weak people who can easily be compromised and manipulated. If this board was doing its job, it would defund this charade. The only reason why it won't is that you like the results, despite having absolutely no evidence that the results are in fact what they should be. The only thing you have is the word of ES&S and your own blind faith. And you act like you have a right to impose that blind faith on us. You do not. One thing for sure, you would have made Joseph Stalin happy. He had the same ideology. Secretary Boris Bozanov quotes him as saying, "I consider it completely unimportant who in the party will vote and or how, but what is extraordinarily important is this: who will count the votes and how." This board is guilty of defrauding voters of transparency and verifiability in our elections. In so doing, they have declared war on Lancaster County voters.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak?
I believe I read somewhere where you're not supposed to be required to sign in, so I do protest this, but does this come off my time that takes me to do this?
We'll start the clock over, it's fine.
Okay, I am a visitor here today, but specific reasons, maybe 2 or 3 specific reasons for doing so, involving the Open Meetings Act, the elections, and the treatment of citizens that are expressing their constitutional rights to freedom, First Amendment, and the right to petition their government. I'm from Douglas County. I have perceived that you people are a little more friendly towards your citizens than Douglas County is. So I don't expect that I will get called out of order and escorted out by a sheriff's deputy that I don't see in the chambers. So I thank you for that. And I didn't have to empty my pockets to get in the building. That's different also. Much more citizen friendly down here, I guess. However, people that are watching live or watch the replays later, in both cases, I find it very interesting when I'm at the podium or in the audience to observe the attention that the commissioners give their citizens. I like to refer to my commissioners as the commissars, because I have been excused a number of times, called out of order for being slightly off topic, or complain about being interrupted during my 3 minutes. You give us 5. I think that's a severe infringement on citizens' rights, do you not? part of the Open Meetings Act is reasonable rules, but reasonable rules are applied by you people and Dodge County, or Douglas County, in a lawfare way, in a legalistic way, for your benefit, not for our benefit. But the Open Meetings Act says reasonable rules, and its basic intent is for the citizen to be able to speak at each and every meeting on each and every topic. So along comes, I don't know what you want to call yourself, and says, oh, well, we're going to put all this stuff on a consent agenda so we can hide it from the citizens. I don't know about here, but in Omaha, Douglas County, I can challenge somebody in those seats to, oh, please speak, and ask me to come up and speak on that item. Take it off the item for a moment so I can speak on it. Occasionally that does happen. However, most of the time it does not. My time's running short. I will give you a couple of things that I brought with me to try and express to you how dire the situation in our country is. I don't believe you or Douglas County commissars are paying any attention to the actual worldwide United States news as to what's happening. The year 2020 is going to be mild compared to what's going to happen this year. Our president and a former president just this weekend telling us once again that people like me that oppose what happened in the 2020 election are the enemy. And we resent that. And that is a far worse, in the way we're being treated by the media and other politicians, is far worse than what happened in the 1770s and earlier that caused a revolution. We didn't like the king, man. What's going on opposed to people like me and Mr. Borer today is far worse. So you should be prepared for the citizens that are rather quiet to one of these days speak their mind. Hopefully it'll be peacefully. But if they're not listened to, it'll turn in to be like a French Revolution. Do you not think so? I do. Quickly, before I get stopped. This was a draft version that I have not yet sent to my commissars. So I'll just read a quick thing on here. The rest of it is pertinent also, but during so-called public meetings of county boards, city councils, state committees, even public school boards, they have been eliminating citizen comments slowly since 2020 at least, if not before. I remember that in 2020 when Mike Boyle and Jim Cavanaugh from Douglas County Board came down from there to the podium to try and stop
Sir,
them.
that is your time.
To try and stop them from removing citizen comments.
That's your time, sir. We're
All
done.
right.
Any other
These
members
two
of the
things
public?
I would like submitted into the record.
Pass them to the clerk, then you're done.
Thank you for your time.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak?
Good morning. I wanted to just mention a few items. One of the concerns that I have, each time you have a meeting, and on the agenda is an item that talks about claims, and approval of the claims processed through, today it's through June 18th, which is today, so it's processed through. You know, this is like doing a blank check. You know, is there a review process that actually goes on behind the scenes? So you're approving expenditures that have not happened yet. So is this just a check the box thing? The audit requires that you commissioners review and approve expenditures? That's one of my concerns that I have. I've been in the audit field before, and I know that is one of the items where you need to be able to identify the amount of expenditures that are spent during that period of time, or something more specific. So are you getting a detailed listing of what the expenditures actually are, and is there any type of review process that you actually do to those types of expenditures? The other comment I had is on your consent items. The first sentence, it says, these are routine business items that are expected to be adopted without assent. Are you guys set up then to say, you know, we have to approve these things? That's the interpretation that I would come up with, that there shouldn't be anybody that would object to any of these items then, just the way that it's worded in there. So my concern is, you know, like on the expenditure, things like, how many things are going on behind the scenes that you're closing your eyes to and not seeing what's actually going on? This would include voter integrity stuff with the elections that went on. How long are you going to wait before you open up your eyes? Where's the truth in what's going on? And why isn't there some procedure to go ahead and, you know, take away the funding? Do a little squeeze play on it to get the results that you want. I realize you feel like maybe there's a government entity there that you don't want to come against and don't want to create any dissension from, but sometimes it needs to stand up for what's right. So where is the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, saying none, we'll go ahead and move on.
Item 7, announcements. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners and a representative from county, villages, and cities will hold a meeting on Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. in room 113 of the County City Building. Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its next regular meeting on Tuesday, June 25th, 2024 at 9 a.m. a departmental budget hearing immediately following in room 112 of the County City Building. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on LNK TV. LNK TV is available on Allo Channel 2 and Spectrum Channel 1300. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. LNK TV apps are available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Item 8 is adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We now begin the Lancaster County Board of Equalization meeting.
Location announcement of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is available located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. All written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk's staff. Printing options are available upon request. These materials can also be viewed at the Lancaster's website, the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Brings us to item 1, minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 2 is the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Good morning. Corey B. with the County Assessor Register Deeds Office. I do have an amendment to the list to offer for your consideration. It was brought to our attention yesterday that we did have a typographical error with regard to the Kappa Foundation. The decreased value amount should actually be $3,814,300. I believe the previous list had that listed as $80,100. So I'd ask for your consideration with regard to that change, as well as we did update the word data should be beta on the 4th entry down for the Beta Theta Pi Building Association. But those two changes, if If you would take those into consideration, please.
80,000 to 3 million.
Yeah,
Corey, that's
sorry.
big.
Yes, that's the value change,
Okay.
3.8 million decrease
So they just
based
dropped
on the Turk
They
final.
dropped the 3 off the front end? Is that the number the same?
It was just in the database, sorry. Yeah, the wrong value was pulled, but it was brought to our attention, so we want to make it right.
I would move approval of the changes with the modification of changing the COPPA foundation to the amount that Corey listed, the 3.
Second.
Do we want to include the data to beta or beta to data change or as well?
Certainly, that's line 4, Corey?
Yeah,
And it
we
should be
typed
beta.
data, DETA, it should be beta, BETA, yeah.
I would also, in my motion, include that change.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item is item 3, reports of destroyed and real property, Form 425 from the following. We have 3, and I'll go ahead and read them all, from Stephen B. Carlton, Thistle Glen Investments LLC, and Garner RE Holdings LLC.
Okay. And
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Grimm, Lancaster County Assessor, Register of Deeds. On the 3 properties that filed for the destroyed property, we went out and inspected all 3 of them. The first thing we have to do is ascertain if they have 20% of the total property damage to be eligible for filing. One of these we looked at earlier this year, and due to a Supreme Court ruling, we have to have a little bit of a different opinion on how we look at some of these. What I would do is submit how we would value those properties on January 1st with the damage. Do you want me to go through these one by one? Would that be a preference?
Yeah.
Okay. On the Carlton property, 3325 North 53rd Street, with the property and the damage that was created on that, how we would have valued it if the primary residence was not there is $35,000 for the land, $15,200 for a detached garage that still stands today, for a total of $50,200. And that's how that property would have been valued if we would go back to a January 1st valuation with the primary residence gone. The Thistle Glen Investments property, 7405 Pioneers Boulevard, that one we would just have, the building is completely destroyed. We would value that one at $738,800 for the land only. Garner RE Holdings at 7201 North 98th Street. That is another one that the property was destroyed. That one, the vacant land value is $1,447,970. And those are recommendations of how we would have valued it with those properties being removed.
Court came in, anybody keeping track at home, the court came in and basically said we don't have to have the same fight over what's a natural disaster and what's not.
Right.
It just count it all, basically, was what the court said. That's not exactly, but, right, Dan, am I close enough? I mean,
yes, we did get a decision earlier this year, the inland insurance case. In that case, the court interpreted the statute substantially broader than we had been interpreting it. The Department of Revenue is interpreting it, I think.
it's broader than it's written, but I'm actually not mad at the court's decision. I kind of agree with it. It just isn't what the words mean.
Right.
No. But that's what the law is, as we sit here today. So we did, based on that, we're recommending approval of these 3. Additionally, there was a Jeff Schumacher that had come in last year, so is burned down out by Waverly somewhere out there. We've settled that one as well. So based on what we're seeing in these, as well as what the court said, we would make the recommendation of approving them.
And so then what we're looking at doing then is valuing at the cost of, or changing the values to the value of the land plus any buildings that were not destroyed, basically.
Correct.
On January 1st.
Yep.
I don't know, that makes sense to me.
Yep, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 4, public hearings. We have a public hearing on the following motor vehicle tax exemption applications for the University of Nebraska Foundation, Christian Retirement Homes doing business as Eastmont Towers, Madonna Rehabilitation Hospital, and the Lincoln Literacy Council.
We will now open the public hearing on the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing no members of the public, we will go ahead and close the motor vehicle tax exemption applications.
Commissioners,
Item 5.
item 5 is action on the following, the motor vehicle tax exemption applications.
I move approval of the motor vehicle tax exemption applications.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries. Brings us to item 6, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to County Board of Equalization business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, please move on to item 7.
Item 7 is adjournment.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any discussion? None. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries.